Alrighty, y'all. So it's time that we obviously talk about what everyone wants to know. Should you summon, right? And this is going to be an important one because you are not able to get these characters after their banner goes away until next year. So you have to wait one full year until the next summer event in order to get these characters. And obviously these two characters look pretty good. There's just a lot of things that kind of go behind that, right? So we're going to talk about all that in this video. We're only going to be talking about Sakura and Rosanna in this video. I will have another video out by today, at least before the update. Remember, the update does go live today, 2 hours after reset. So whenever you're seeing this video, right, when this video comes out, if you're seeing this video within the day it comes out, it's already had the update already happened for you, or it's the next reset just 2 hours after the reset. I'm shaking my camera, which is I shouldn't be doing, but let's talk about it. So obviously we have Sakura and Rosanna, and both of these characters, like I said before, are good, right? It doesn't seem like they're meant for bosses, which is very good, right? The way they kind of described it in the live stream is that these characters were meant for bosses. No, it's not entirely true. That's not the full case, right? They're better against bosses, right? You're probably going to get your best potential out of these characters against bosses that have mobs with them as well, but you could use these characters against bosses or even just against mobs. These characters are able to do all of that. They're not boss dedicated characters. They're just better against bosses with mobs rather than obviously just like a boss regularly, right? Or even just like mobs maybe. I'm not sure. We have to see, because obviously a lot of the stuff behind their kit has to do with the destroy enemy parts. So when it comes to Sakura, obviously she's a DPS, right? She's an insane DPS where, you know, she's going to be dealing 256% of attack as sustained damage for every 1 second for 15 seconds, and that's happening every other 15 seconds from the start of the game. The moment the game starts, every other 15 seconds, one enemy is going to have obviously just damage dealt to them every 1 second for 15 seconds, then a 15-second cooldown, then it's going to repeat like that. But when you use her burst skill, it's going to just go to all enemies basically, right? It's just going to go to all enemies. I don't know how, I guess it's 10 enemies, right? So when you use her burst skill, it's gonna spread to 10 more enemies, or a total of 10 enemies. It should be 10 more enemies, and then from there all 10 enemies will be taking 256% of final attack and sustained damage every 1 second for 15 seconds, which is crazy. Now there are ways you can keep this up permanently, and again that has to do with bosses that have parts, right? If you guys take a look at her first skill, it says you get the duration increased by 10 seconds if you know, you or an ally destroys an enemy part, right? So if, you know, herself or ally destroys the enemy part, she gets a sustained damage buff. If herself or allies, you know, attack an enemy part and destroy it during the dance flower stage, which is the second skill, then you will get 10 seconds. And the same thing also goes for the Sakura pedal status, right? Anya, if you're in this second skill effect, which lasts for 15 seconds, and you destroy an enemy part, you will get a 10-second increase to that. That's going to be very helpful because that means you could kind of have like, not necessarily a full uptime, maybe against like Material H I could see it being a full uptime, since Material H is parts that kind of just respawn. But against stuff like Train, against stuff like Gravedigger, Blacksmith, like these are things that it's like a one-time thing. So Material H is like the only boss off the top of my head that I could think of. Maybe Mother Will as well, where it's like you're going to probably have the most uptime for these effects and stuff like that. Her burst skill does do damage, AoE damage, affects random enemies. I'm assuming it's just the 10 enemies that it's affecting. And then those same targets, it will deal 35% of final attack and sustained damage every 1 second. That stacks up to 10 times for 10 seconds, which is quite crazy, right? It's quite crazy. It deals 35% of final attack and sustained damage for every 1 second, and that stacks to 10 times and lasts for 10 seconds. Is quite crazy. So you're probably gonna want to have this character just for mob clearing. She might actually hit way harder than Scarlet. She might be better than Summer Anise. Like, I know everyone's going for Summer Anise because Summer Anise is a crazy DPS and stuff like that, but Sakura might be better than Summer Anise, right? Obviously I'm not gonna make that claim until I test it, because this character's kit is kind of like just different. But she might be better than what's her name, Scarlet damage, and even Summer Anise. I don't know if I just said Summer Mary. Summer Anise. If I didn't say Summer Anise, I meant Summer Anise. Now the thing is, this character, it's not worded like this, but you kind of want to have these two together, right? Now you don't have to, right? It's not by force. It's not like Sakura is not gonna work if you don't have her with Rosanna, but it's kind of a waste when Rosanna's kit literally goes perfectly with Sakura's kit. So it's kind of a waste for you not to go for both of these two characters, I feel like. And again, you only have a one chance, like a one-time thing, right? There's not, oh, I'm going to push them on the wish list. No, it's like you literally get them now or you wait a whole year, right? And with obviously the new Interception EX coming out and the new content we're going to get within the next year, where we're probably going to get more bosses and mobs with bosses and stuff like that, having these two would kind of be an essential, right? It would kind of be a must-have, right? Even for the collections and stuff like that. For all we know, these two could be crazy against the new collection content as well, right? So it's kind of hard for me to tell you guys skip these characters when, one, they're limited, and two, they could have so much value and probably will have so much value down the line, right? When it comes to Rosanna, her whole thing is kind of just supporting Sakura, right? Sustained damage buff, damage taken increase to all enemies for 10 seconds when you use her burst skill. Even just this alone, damage taken increased by 32% for 10 seconds to all enemies. Even this alone, you don't need to have Sakura for that. This is right here is a very, very good thing right here, right? Damage to enemy parts all increased, right? This is a very good kit because this is helping all allies do more damage to parts on top of, like, I can already see a team I'm going to run. I'm probably going to run these characters, Sakura. I'm probably going to run Dorothy because she also kind of does that she does that when you're in her burst skill, right? When you're in her transform state. If we pull up Dorothy real quick, when you're in Dorothy's transform state, all allies get a massive damage to part buff that lasts for 5 seconds, right? When the last bullet hits in the transformation state. So, like, you could run these comps together and then get, like, basically maximize the shit out of these characters. So, there is that, right? And then obviously an attack buff for all allies as well of the casted attack that stacks, lasts for 30 seconds, is quite big. So honestly, I would say yes, you should summon for Rosanna. Yes, you should summon for Sakura. If you want me to be honest, if let's say you don't have enough currency to get both of them, who should you go over who? Who should you prioritize more than who? What character is going to have more value down the road, right? Is it going to be Sakura or is it going to be Rosanna? Now, it's kind of hard to say because Rosanna is a support, right? And I do think supports have general more value than obviously DPS is, like more longevity, I mean, right? Damage taken buff, obviously you have Blanc who can do that and other characters who can do, well, really just Blanc, like AoE like that. Blanc is like the only one that comes to mind. AoE, damage taken increase. And then like the other stuff, do you need this? Like, do you need the damage to par affects all allies? Do you need the damage to par affects all allies? And then her damage, like her DPS, sustained damage, do you need these if you're not running her with Sakura? Probably not, right? Maybe just the damage taken I can see, right? Sustained damage, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work because sustained damage is considered something else, right? That's what it looks like here. And I don't know if it's going to be the same thing where it's not like all allies are getting sustained damage literally increased, or if it's only the characters who have the wording final attack as sustained damage. So only Rosanna and only Sakura would be benefiting from that. I'm not sure, right? I'm assuming it's like that because that's how it always is with all the other characters with distributed damage and the same as true damage, right? It just seems like that's just going to be the wording. So honestly, you're better off getting Sakura because she's just going to be good regardless if you have her with Rosanna or not, right? Rosanna's kind of just meant to support the shit out of Sakura, right? But Sakura by herself is just going to do, she's going to do fine as well. She's going to work. So if you wanted me to be honest, I would say have Sakura, prioritize getting Sakura first, then getting Rosanna, but I would highly recommend getting one copy of both Rosanna and Sakura, right? I would highly recommend getting one copy of both of them. It would really be a waste, especially since I cannot tell you what the new content is going to look like and what characters you're going to need for that, right? So I would recommend go for Sakura over Rosanna, but if you are able to, try your best to get one copy Rosanna, one copy Sakura, right? That's just for these two, right? Like I said, in the next video where I do the should you summon for the reruns, I'm going to mention obviously Sakura and Rosanna in that video as well, and then I'm going to break it down, see like should you rerun? Should you summon for these rerun characters on top of like not having Sakura and Rosanna in the game and stuff like that? But you guys let me know if you agree with me. If you don't, it's fine. If you do, then great. It's all just my opinion anyway. So there is that. We don't really know how good these characters are going to be until we test them. I mean, I think they're going to be very, very good, just based off paper. Very, very good, right? 256% final attack and sustained damage. Sustained damage, like damage over time, right? So like DOT 1 second for 15 seconds, 256% of that in your burst skill that goes to 10 enemies. There's no question Sakura is gonna hit. Like, with crown and stuff, like, ooh, that's the only thing though. Do you need, let me consider that. Do you need Rosanna if you have crown? Because Rosanna's whole thing is kind of to help Sakura get more damage output. But if you're running crown now, but like multiple teams and stuff like that, maybe, right? And for solo raid and stuff like that, yeah, I would still recommend get 1-on-1, right? I know crown is such a crazy DPS, so people feel like they never need another burst 2, but at the end of the day, you're going to need multiple teams in this game, and Sakura and the crown are just not going to be the team you're going to decide to run, right? Not over the other teams that crown works with. So Rosanna and Sakura, but if you don't want Rosanna, yes, you can use crown and probably get even more numbers than you would with Rosanna off that team. But yeah, this is just my opinion. You guys let me know what you think. It's your boy Zxous. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace. And look at the cut though, bro. I'm fresh as a bitch.